The world number 1 Jannik Sinner wins the 2025 Australian Open title, defeating world number 2 Alexander Zverev in straight sets in the final. The 23-year-old Italian now brings his overall Grand Slam title tally to 3, having won the last 3 hardcourt majors and has lost just one match since early August last year, in a run which has seen him claim the Cincinnati and Shanghai Masters 1000 titles, the 2024 US Open and ATP Tour Finals titles, lead Italy to back-to-back Davis Cups for the first time in their history, and now he adds a second Australian Open title to his rapidly growing resume. It's been a dominant fortnight from Sinner, dropping just 2 sets en route to the title, comfortably dispatching the likes of Holger Rune, Alex de Minaur and Ben Shelton before overcoming Zverev in 2 hours and 42 minutes in the final without facing a single break point. That is now 21 consecutive wins, and Sinner also made history by becoming the first man in history to win 10 consecutive matches against fellow top 10 competitors without dropping a set, having won the last 22 sets that he's played against the game's current elite. Sinner looked after his serve incredibly well in the final, as he did all tournament, not facing any break points against Alexander Zverev and saving 78% of break points he faced across the entire tournament, only dropping serve 5 times in his 7 matches en route to the title. Winning 84% of his first serve points and backing that up by winning 63% of his second serve points left Zverev little to no opportunity to gain any momentum on the Italian service games, which kept the pressure constantly on the German side of the court. Zverev's first serve percentage dropped to a tournament low 68.4%, and this may be due to Zverev trying to go for that bit extra on his serves to try to avoid needing to engage Jannik in longer baseline rallies, where the world number 1 was dominant. Sinner's return position could also have contributed to this, as he positioned himself way behind the baseline and challenging Zverev to either come up with something extra special on the serve or engage in lengthy baseline exchanges. Ultimately, Sinner was coming out on top in the rallies at all lengths, but if we take a look at the numbers, we can see that his advantage was most apparent when the rallies were extended beyond 9+ strokes, so naturally Zverev was looking to try and keep the points shorter where possible, but against an opponent with the court coverage and defensive and counterpunching skills that Sinner possesses, this is easier said than done, and this resulted in a higher number of unforced errors from the German. I expected that Zverev may have responded to Sinner's deeper return position by throwing in some serve and volley and more net play in general, but again, Sinner's ability to cover the court and hit with power and accuracy on the run makes it incredibly difficult to employ this tactic, and Zverev was only able to come out on top of 52% of the points when at the net, significantly below the success rate of around the mid 70 to 80% range he enjoyed against his opponents in the earlier rounds. In the end, Zverev just wasn't able to find a way to consistently hurt Sinner, with the world number 1 never truly looking threatened in this one, and he commented after the match.
I mean, we're trying to do all the right work. I'm just not good enough. It's as simple as that.
Sasha was obviously very dejected after the match, and it was nice to see Jannik Sinner comfort his opponent after the match and urge the German to continue to believe in himself, as the Italian continues to show what a class act he is both on and off the court. In terms of where Sasha goes from here, whether he can finally claim that maiden Grand Slam title that has eluded him so far, it's a tricky one. The level we saw from Jannik throughout this tournament, as well as over the course of the past few months, is as close to the level of the big three that I've seen a player attain, and at just 23 years of age you would expect that Jannik is only going to continue to go from strength to strength from here. There is also the not so small matter of Carlos Alcaraz, who is one of, if not the only player on tour at the moment capable of challenging Sinner at his best, aside from maybe a fit and motivated Djokovic. So Zverev finds himself in a position where he's probably a step or 2 behind those guys, so he may be relying on a draw opening up for him to be able to finally get across the line and claim his first Grand Slam. However, the good news for Zverev is that at this moment in time he appears to be clearly the best of the rest, with the likes of Medvedev, Ruud, Tsitsipas and Rublev struggling with form and consistency, and all falling to rising up and coming players at this tournament, while Sasha has continued to be able to perform towards the top of his game consistently, making the quarterfinals or better at 6 out of the last 8 majors. So if Jannik's hardcore dominance doesn't translate to Roland Garros or Wimbledon, Carlos slips up, or Djokovic encounters more physical issues, then Zverev will be in a strong position to capitalise. One of the other big storylines of the Australian Open was the explosion of young talent, taking on the established guard without fear, which resulted in numerous upsets and close calls throughout the tournament. It'll be fascinating to see if these players can kick on and become consistent threats throughout the year, and we may see some new faces in the mix come the end of the year if the current generation of players can't find a way to return to their old form. Of this group, Zverev has been the one player who's been able to keep his level, but he will need to continue to work hard in his game, not only to bridge the gap to Sinner and Alcaraz, but to keep the hungry next generation of talent at bay. As for Jannik Sinner, the guy is unstoppable right now. Some may say that he was given a favourable draw with the likes of Alcaraz, Djokovic and Zverev all stacked on the opposite side of the draw, but when you're the number one seed, the draw can open up like that, and he has been reaping the rewards of all the hard work he's put in to get himself to the top of the game. Ultimately, he can only beat what's put in front of him, and there was strong opposition in his half, but he never looked in danger of being on the wrong end of an upset. I suppose the next big question for Jannik is, can he translate his hardcourt dominance to the clay at Roland Garros and the grass at Wimbledon? His Spanish rival Carlos Alcaraz has had a stranglehold of those majors for the past couple of years, so it'll be fascinating to see how Jannik performs at those tournaments. There is also the big elephant in the room to consider, and that is the doping case that is currently hanging over the head of the world number one. That hearing will take place in April, so depending on what the result of the hearing is, there is a possibility that Jannik could miss a period of time this season, which would definitely be a shame given he's recently emerged as one of the big stars of the sport. Either way, Sinner continues to take his tennis to new heights, and has proven without any doubt now that he is the man to beat on hard courts. So it will be fascinating to see how the rest of the season plays out. So, how will his burgeoning competitive rivalry with Alcaraz develop? And will new faces be able to catapult themselves into contention as the year goes on? Or will some of the current generation of players be able to refine their form and get back to their best tennis? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you for watching.